Did you all survive the week of the underdog in the NFL? I'm talking Falcons, Jags over the Bills. You've got the Cowboys losing to the Broncos. Luckily, I had the Chiefs in my survivor pool, so I'm still moving on. A lot of people got clipped as more and more underdogs begin to start covering, not only covering, but also winning outright. Tennessee, without Derrick Henry, smacks the Rams. Bears cover. Packers cover without Aaron Rodgers, just crazy. So carnage all over. The Buccaneers won by simply not playing, by having the bye week, right? They got healthy. All these different contenders that we were talking in comparison with the Bucs start looking a little bit having chinks in the armor and whatnot. The NFC South is trash. The schedule's super favorable for the Buccaneers. They're probably going to snag the 1 seed in the NFC. Bills, throw that out the window. Manning curse, right? That's starting to turn into a real thing. We didn't have a Manning cast last night, so no one cursed yet. But Josh Allen was the latest guest, and they put up a stinker in Jacksonville. Just one of the inexplicably, I knew it was going to be a weird game, stayed away, figured it was going to be close. Did not think we'd see 9-6. And Urban Meyer all of a sudden celebrating a couple of wins, Dolphins and then the Bills. And the Bills, look, I still think they're solid. Josh Allen's playing himself out of the MVP race, right? He's looked docile the last couple of times. Easy division. Jets and Dolphins are terrible. They've not really beaten anybody, right? But I still think the Bills are solid, as we'll see again as they move on and see if they can still stay in the top of the upper echelon of the AFC. But the Titans, look, they've got the easiest schedule remaining. Easiest division possibly in the AFC South too. They could, and potentially get Derrick Henry back. This is a team that's been in the playoffs with Tannehill, Henry, Vrabel. Bills and Titans kind of usual suspects. Titans, can they hold on and maybe snag a 1 seed and maybe do some damage with that? That defense is good. Defense can play, as we know, certainly in the NFL. Cardinals are really good. Kyle Shanahan. My goodness, that was another underdog victory. Colt freaking McCoy with the Cardinals totally come in and blitz Shanahan in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan is 32-40 in his career now. 2 blown Super Bowls. 1 as a head coach, 1 as an offensive coordinator. Shouldn't he be on the hot seat? What are we doing here? This is year 5, right? Kyle Shanahan, it's almost like we're giving him a genius. We're calling him more of a genius than a buffoon. He's 8 games below 500. Well, you got your guy, right? Trey Lance. This was supposed to be your year, and you can't even do anything with it. I think the hot seat certainly should be talked about more for Kyle Shanahan, who's getting one of the longer leashes in the NFL. Rams lose to the Titans. Rams are still good. Von Miller didn't play. That was the big trade deadline acquisition. Excited to see what that can add to the defense. Packers are still 15. Defense looked good against the Chiefs, who seriously look like they've lost a step, like even offensively. Jordan Love doesn't look great, but they're getting potentially Rodgers back. I know he just went on Pat McAfee today, and he said there's still hurdles left for him to come back. Russell Wilson is coming back, and he's coming to Lambeau for the Seattle Seahawks. So that's going to be interesting. Packers, I still think Rodgers coming back, they're going to be good, but Rodgers slipping away from the MVP race because he could potentially miss 2 games. Murray's probably number 3. Are you seeing this too? ESPN.com's putting this out. Matt Stafford, their choice for the NFL. Yeah, I told you. NFL MVP. Told you that last week. Come on. Had the stinker, right? Looked bad against the good Titans defense, but still leading the league in passing now as Brady had the bye. And I still think we'll be able to keep pace with Brady. They're the 1-2 in the MVP race right now. Kyler Murray didn't play. He's my number 3. People are making the case for Lamar Jackson. Sure. He's not putting up, he's not even on pace for his first MVP season again. So, I mean, you could put him at 6, I think. The rushing yards are what's getting him, the touchdowns as well, and they have a good record. So he's still there. I don't think you could put him at the top yet, though. Dak took a hit this weekend against the Broncos. Rodgers not playing. Kyler didn't play this weekend, and we'll see what he has in store for this week. So that's the NFL minute. I think the Bucs still kind of the winners of the weekend by just watching all the carnage from the glory of the bye week. College football, again, Cincinnati, unbelievable. It's very interesting because things are coming down. There's so much that can happen. I love good scenarios. Another bad win for Cincy. They barely squeaked by Tulsa, even though ESPN College Game Day went there. That was weird. They're at USF on Friday. Again, a 20-something favorite. They haven't covered the 3 straight games like this. Navy, Tulsa. It's looking like Cincy's playing themselves out. What's the college football playoff going to rank tonight? The rankings are coming out right when you are probably listening to this. We're releasing this here on an early evening on a Tuesday. SMU just lost again. That's their last resume builder coming up for Cincinnati. And now SMU has 2 losses, so it's not even going to be a great win. That game potentially looking worse and worse. Bama did not look great at home versus LSU. They were playing with their food, right? It was Bryce Young had great numbers. The run game was terrible, and the play calling was poorly timed in that department. Barely scored in the second half, but, a 6-point win as a huge favorite. Bama's always a huge favorite. I think the offense still looked great. I think Bama's still, Bryce Young's still my Heisman favorite, and I think Bama's still my national title favorite as well, because Georgia, go look at what they have done. Their schedule yet are blowing out teams, but who have they played? Seriously, it's going to be interesting. I think Bama and Georgia are, without any slip-ups, going to meet in the SEC title, obviously, and then I think it's going to be a good game. I think Bama wins. Obviously, a one-loss Georgia is going to stay in, and it's probably going to be the 2-3 matchup for Georgia. Bama would flip to the 1 seed, obviously, with a win, and we'll have Bama, Georgia again. That's what's going to happen this year, barring any colossal, crazy stuff, which is always bound to happen in college football. Here's Bama's schedule. They host New Mexico State this weekend. Jeez. Home versus Arkansas, and then at Auburn. Auburn just laid a stinker in their game this past weekend, but the Iron Bowl, always nothing to overlook. So the CFP tonight, here is my prediction. I think it's going to be Georgia, Bama, 1-2. Oregon beats Washington. Anthony Brown, I've watched him in Boston College. I see the same mistakes in an Oregon uniform. It looks a little bit more flashy in the Oregon uniform, because Phil Knight's dripping them out every weekend at Nike in a different uniform. But they're still, they don't scare me. They get a nice win against Washington. Washington's coach gets suspended for aggressively berating his player on the sideline. Oregon's going to find a way to slip up. But for now, CFP loves them. They're going to put them in at number 3. They're going to stay put. Ohio State did not look great at Nebraska. Nebraska, the best 3-7 team you ever seen. They just said they're sticking with Frost. Why? If you like losing, the Big Ten record's ridiculous. The overall records were ridiculous. Great, you're close, but that's nobody likes close losses. 3-7 this year. But Ohio State, are they starting to look more average like they did in that loss at home versus Oregon? Cincinnati is going to be number 5, right? Michigan State loses to Purdue. They're going to fall. Michigan is going to be my 6. That's my prediction. It would be really something if Michigan leaped Cincinnati and Cincinnati stayed at 6. But I have Cincinnati 5, Michigan 6. Oklahoma will be 7. They were on the bye. I'd put Notre Dame at 8. They lose to Cincinnati, but, they're still winning their winnable games. And people forget they beat Purdue, who's turning into a pretty solid team this year. That was early on in the season. That was a hand of victory. They blitzed Wisconsin. Wisconsin's almost all the way back. They might be in the Big Ten title game. So, hey, credit to Notre Dame. I think they should be number 8. No title game, right, is going to hurt them. They might just be on the outside looking in. They're kind of just waiting to see if these Oregons, Ohio States, and Cincinnati's eventually fall. Games I'm looking forward to this weekend: Georgia at Tennessee. See if they can take care of business. They're minus 20.5. Did not cover against Mizzou because it was nearly a 50-point line or a 40-point line. Mizzou finally covers their first game of the year. I think Georgia might destroy Tennessee. But who knows? 20.5. That's interesting. Michigan +1 at Penn State. Can Michigan stay in the race? Can Penn State mix things up even more in the crazy Big Ten, which we'll get into in just a little bit? That's going to be a good game. Michigan, a dog at Penn State. Oklahoma, back off the bye. TCU just upset Baylor, who was highly ranked, without Gary Patterson, who they parted ways, right? The long tenured TCU coach who kind of brought them to the face of college football, to the precipice of college football, put them on the map. Oklahoma, a short favorite on the road, -5.5 at TCU. Ohio State -20 at home versus Purdue. Purdue's scary, and Ohio State fans know that as well from history and their matchups. Ohio State -20 at home versus Purdue, coming off a lackluster performance in Lincoln. Texas A&M -2.5 at Ole Miss. Two very interesting SEC teams. Jimbo Fisher Great recruiting classes piling up now since he left Florida State for Texas A&M and jumped ship to the SEC. And obviously Lane Kiffin's first year has been a great success, in my opinion, for Ole Miss. NC State -2 at Wake Forest. This is for basically the berth in the ACC title game. Maybe I'm the only one who's interested in this, right? NC State -2 at Wake. Wake just lost for the first time in a wild game against North Carolina. Oregon -14. They're at home against Wazoo. We'll see. Anthony Brown. We'll see. Where's the slip-up game? And then Notre Dame, see if they can keep pace. This is no slouch. They're traveling to Virginia, -5.5. Virginia's been a very solid ACC team. Notre Dame, -5.5 at Virginia. Okay, let's get into Boston College. We're so back. The surprise of the week, Phil Jurkovec. He is coming back from injury. It's reported that he was actually cleared before the Syracuse game, which is like, oh man, I would have loved to. We would have won that game if he played, but I think BC figured they could have won without Jurkovec, get him more healthy. So he had kind of a week of being cleared to play again, and he looked solid. He had a mistake. He looked a little bit rusty, but he hustled. The game was in hand. Virginia Tech lost their quarterback super early on. So Boston College back 3-0, need to run the table to get their win total. They're 2-0 with Phil Jurkovec. I think Jeff Hafley's now 9-3 with Jurkovec as his starting quarterback in the career. Those two have shared together since coming to Boston College. I love it. At Georgia Tech this weekend, it's not going to be on TV. It's like ACC Network blacked out for me for some reason. +2 at Georgia Tech. Is Vegas even paying attention to what's going on? Boston College covered as a dog. If you were smart, you saw Jurkovec was starting and you grabbed that line movement. Easiest win of your life. And if you're smart, you're going to play BC +2 at Georgia Tech. That is a hammer. Ozzie Trapillo, the freshman, started on the offensive line, looked like an animal. This guy's going to anchor the Boston College line for the years to come. We can run this table. It's Florida State after Georgia Tech at home, and then it's Wake Forest, who could go on a losing streak now because it's actually the tough part of their schedule. BC potentially setting up the game for their win total over/under, going into that potentially at 7-4 and see what will happen. But you got to take care of business at Georgia Tech and then against Florida State first. So Boston College gets the win at Virginia Tech. I'm back. So is Phil Jurkovec. Oh my God. Classic Minnesota Gophers. They're in control of their own destiny for getting into the Big Ten title. They announced a PJ Fleck extension. Get this, 7 years, $35 million. Wow. 5 years, $5 million a year, and then expensive if he leaves to get bought out, if he wants to jump ship and go to a better program. And then he loses as a 2-touchdown favorite at home to Illinois. Classic. But the Big Ten is such a mess. The Gophers could still potentially beat Iowa +6.5 on the road this week because they're undefeated on the road. Then they could lose to Indiana and upset Scotty at home, Wisconsin that is, and get into the title game somehow. But, crazier things have happened, but still so much can happen. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Purdue, all 4-2 in the Big Ten and the Big Ten West. 2 running backs left healthy on scholarship for Minnesota. That showed this weekend against Illinois. Tanner Morgan has gone from an early round NFL draft prospect 2 years ago, right, in the road to the boat to put PJ Fleck on the map, to not even on the radar of pro scouts. He was terrible. He's been terrible the last 2 years. Gophers got run all over because the poor offensive play kept the defense coming back out on the field. Classic Gophers loss. Mentioned they're undefeated on the road. I could see them beating Iowa this week, beating Indiana. Indiana's been terrible this year. And then dropping to Wisconsin at home. I think Wisconsin's somehow going to find a way to sneak their way into the Big Ten title against Ohio State. But on the other side of things, too, you got Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State, and Ohio State all kind of playing each other in the round robin style in the last couple of weeks here as the crazy college football season continues. Yet, we're going to end up with the usual suspects, as always. College hoops begins again. Excuse me, I don't even know what I was saying there. College hoops is back tonight. Already a couple games underway. I'm watching Villanova right now smack their lesser opponent. New coach for Boston College, new coach for Minnesota. Don't know what to expect. All I know is Boston College should not be a 12-point favorite against Dartmouth tonight. I'm staying away, watching as a fan, curious, whole new roster, basically. Coach from College of Charleston, Earl Wright, I'm excited to see. I've liked what I've seen so far, recruiting, presence on campus. Now we got to see what we've got on the court. And And then University of Missouri, Kansas City is coming here to town to face the Gophers. Gophers only 6.5-point favorites with their new head coach, Ben Johnson. Interesting. We'll see there. As far as predictions, teams I like, UCLA, surprise Final Four team. They're returning a lot of guys. Michigan, high recruiting class. Again, Juwan Howard's been a great addition to the coaching staff, and team coming off an impressive performance last year, right? They lost to UCLA in the Elite Eight. Everyone loves Illinois this year, a team that had an early exit last year, right? Loyola Chicago, Sister Jean and company bounced them, but they're returning guys. Brad Underwood has this team ready to go in the Big Ten. Nothing not to like about Illinois. And I like Villanova. I pretty much like them every year. Jay Wright, easy conference. They always have great team basketball. Taking a flyer on Wisconsin this year. Second round team last year. They returned some guys, get a transfer 7-footer. And how about Matthew Moores? When I was in South Dakota, I watched this guy's career flourish. He's like the best basketball player in South Dakota history. Him and Mike Miller. I mean, there's a couple of discrepancies, but lit it up since he was an 8th grader in South Dakota. Matthew Moores, Wisconsin commit. He's a freshman. We'll see how he looks throughout the course of the season, how much playing time he gets. But it's exciting to see. This guy's a fantastic player. I'm excited to see what he does at Big Ten level. It's certainly an upgrade there. He's a true freshman. And here's why I like Wisconsin. One, because it's $20 to win $2,000. Two, Baylor was a second-round exit 2 years ago, right? Coronavirus pandemic in between. So they were a second-round exit as a 9 seed 2 years ago. So potentially the last year before they won the title. Virginia was the first-round exit. They bounced back to win the title next year. I'm kind of following trends around here. So let's see. Baylor wins it last year. How about Wisconsin was a 9 seed last year when they upset North Carolina as the 8 seed? Second-round exit. Are they the national championship this year? It's also been more team-oriented, right? You haven't seen the year Zion went there. It's not been the star players. Durant didn't do anything. Trae Young didn't do anything. It's more teams, the trend that win the title. Good coaching, team basketball. Look what Duke's done since they've eventually went to, one and done. We're getting all the best talent. They haven't done much. So number one overall talent, not the way to go. It's been top 25 classes, not top 5 classes. That's why Wisconsin fits the bill for me, and I'll take a huge flyer on that, right? Why not? See if Wisconsin, who always does damage in March, gets in a tough Big Ten. They're you say they're a 9 seed again. Who knows? If they take out the 1 seed, why can't they go on a run? I'll take a flyer there on Wisconsin, my only future so far as college basketball kicks off tonight. Corbet's Corner here on a Tuesday. We've got Winging It coming out again tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed Core Trades. How about Roblox? We're killing it in the return. That is out, so check out. It's very easy listen, casual. We make it fun and easy to kind of learn a little bit more about finance and business and how to make some extra money. So check that out. We appreciate you, the listener, and we'll talk to you here this week.